What is good, my peoples? This is Kobe2408. As always, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share if you enjoy these videos. Make sure you hit that notification button so you know when I upload new videos or when I'm live streaming. Currently, we are on patch 7.14 on the PBE, and I'm going to talk about everything that I have not talked about for patch 7.14. So I missed two mini reworks, and that's on Garen and Cho'Gath. I'll talk about them in this video. And then there's a bunch of buffs and nerfs to champions that I'll go over very quickly. Also, towards the end of the video, I'll talk about the new ruins and mastery system that's coming out in October, November-ish. So that's what's going on here. This is the same patch where Diana got reworked, Singe got reworked, and also Kayn came out, the new champion. And if you haven't seen my videos on those, take a look at those. But very quickly, we're going to cover Garen. Garen's passive got buffed. At level 11, his passive triggers after 3 seconds being out of combat, which is a lot. Also, the healing went up to 8%. You can see the actual numbers on the screen. However, I just wanted to showcase this very quickly because his passive is pretty big. It's what's on right now. You can see he's like green. There's like these lights that are green on him. That is his passive that's active right now. So once you take damage, his passive goes away. And then after 3 seconds, as you can see, 3, 2, 1, his passive reactivates. And look at how much healing I'm getting. About plus 40 per second. That's insane. That's so fast. So that's what's going on with his passive. It's going to be extremely helpful when he takes damage and then leaves combat. And then he can come back into combat or come back into the team fight. His E got increased, the damage ratio got increased, you can see on the screen, by 2%. Not too big of a deal, but again, it's going to help him mid to late game as he builds items. So his W is what got reworked. This is, I think, really good for Garen. His passive, however, still the same. Killing units permanently grants him 0.25 armor, and then magic resist up to maximum 30. And so that's the same. However, his active has changed. So once Garen activates it, Garen steals his courage for 6 seconds. For the first 0.75 seconds, he takes 60% less damage and gains 60% tenacity. And for the remaining duration, he takes 30% less damage. So all that means is once I activate it for 0.75 seconds, you get 60% less damage taken, and then you get 60% tenacity. So this is his W. You can see it's on right now. However, after the 0.75 seconds, he takes 30% less damage, and the tenacity buff part of it and the 60% less damage is obviously isn't there anymore. So just the remaining, however remaining seconds there are, 5.25, he gets 30% less damage taken. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, the biggest part of this rework is the once you first activate it for 0.75 seconds, you get 60% less damage and 60% tenacity, which is insane. So not only that, it can stack with boots if you buy Merc Treads. Merc Treads give you 30% tenacity, so that's 60% plus 30%, that's 90%. And then there is a mastery where it gives you also tenacity 15%, so you can have 105% tenacity. I don't know if it caps at 100%. I would think it caps at 100%, but I'm not exactly sure. But once you activate it, let's see if Leona will stun me. I have 105% tenacity at the moment. Yeah, see, I barely get stunned. This is going to be really good for Garen. However, you have to activate it right at the right time. Obviously, when you're going into a fight, if people see it on, they're not going to stun you. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. Him taking less damage is probably the bigger part of this. He does, again, have trouble catching up to champions. They can just, if there's some champions that are really good at kiting, they'll just kite Garen all day long. But again, it does help because he can run at them with his Q and then activate his W. And as you can see, that was like a 0.25 second stun. It was insane, having 100+ % tenacity. So that's what's going on with his W. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But we're gonna take a look at Cho'Gath very quickly. So as you can see, I have Cho'Gath in front of me. This is, again, the PBE, patch 7.14. His E got reworked. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let me just go over some of his other buffs that he's getting. So on his Q, the mana cost is being lowered from 90 to 60. Damage changed from 80, 135, 190, 245, 305 to 80, 135, 190, 245, 300. So it went down by 5, not much at max level. But again, the mana is lowered, so you can cast your Q more often. And then his W, just go over the numbers that got changed. His silence duration changed from 1.5, 1.625, 1.75, 1.875, and then 2 to 1.6, 17, 18, 19, and then 2. So a little more whole numbers, which no more decimals. So a little longer stun in the early to mid game, but then max level it is only 2 seconds still, which is, this is his W, if you guys didn't know. His Q, sorry I didn't show you guys his Q. His Q is this. So the mana got lowered on his Q, and then here's his silence, which is his W. So his E is the biggest thing that got reworked. It is a lot bigger rework than Garen's rework. It is now an active spell, so you obviously press it and you activate it, and then Cho'Gath's next 3 basic attacks launch spikes that deal 80 to a certain AP plus 4% of the enemy's maximum health as magic damage, and also slows by 50% for 1.5 seconds decaying over the duration. So so this helps him a lot. Not only that, there's an actual extra thing. So as you get stacks from Cho'Gath's Feast, which I'll show in just a minute, spikes deal an additional 0.5% of the enemy's maximum health per Feast stack. Also, the spikes grow wider as Cho'Gath gains Feast stack. So all that means is, here's his E, so I activate it. So the next 3 attacks, they also slow and do a lot of damage. And as you can see how wide the E is, like as I'm doing it, it actually grows, again, the E grows wider as you gain stacks of Feast. So let's just very quickly show this. Also, again, the E does percentage health damage, which is crazy. So as you get more Feast stacks, as you obviously get bigger like this, I just said it, as you get Feast stacks, again, you'll do more damage because the spikes scale on how many Feast stacks you get, as well as AP and AP ratio scaling. So more stacks, as you can see. Let me just get more stacks. How many do I have right now? 6. Okay, can I just chop this guy in his face? Again, I don't have any items, which is crazy. So here's his E. I just activated it. So basically you can almost clear waves. I am level 18, but I activate the E again, and it's not bad. It's obviously when you have more items and you have more stacks, it's gonna hit much harder. So let's activate the E and let's see how big it. So obviously as Cho'Gath gets bigger, his E gets a little bit wider. You can see it was from like this small area of effect. Now it's a lot bigger, the area of effect. Anyways, that's what it does. It does an insane amount of damage once you have a lot of stacks. If you haven't seen Vandrel's video, check that out. If you don't know who Vandrel is, I'll put it in the link in the description below. But he gets like 200 stacks, and he basically one-shots the bots. I think he one-shots the bots with his E. So that's what's going on with Cho'Gath's E. It's a lot better. It also slows, so he can at least like slow like the tanks or people in front of him down before they get to the back line. So I think it's going to be really good for Cho'Gath. He's going to be really strong. He's going to not be obviously a god tier top laner, but he's going to, I don't know, he's being played more often right now, so he'll be played even more once this rework happens. But let's go take a look at some of the buffs and nerfs to the other champions. So now I'm going to cover the buffs and nerfs to a bunch of the champions. Some of them are really minor. So we're looking at Alistar right now. His ultimate is getting buffed. Currently on the live server, the damage reduction effect is 50, 60, 70%, and then it's getting changed to 55, 65, 75%, so it's just going up by 5%. Nothing too major. So now we're looking at Caitlyn. Her base stats are getting lowered. Her attack speed growth is going from 4 to 2, so nothing too significant. However, again, as you level up, her attack speed doesn't grow as quickly, so she'll need items to compensate for the lower based attack speed growth. But that's all that's going on with Caitlyn. Now let's take a look at the other champions. So now we're looking at Fiora. Now Fiora is receiving some nerfs on her movement speed. First, it's on her passive. So as you can see in the video, this is her passive. There's a marked target, and then when you hit that marked target in a certain location, she gets a movement speed buff. So her movement speed is being lowered from 20, 30, 40, 50% to 15, 20, 25, 30% at max level. It's 20% less movement speed, which is a lot. So at least she can be caught now, and she can't just run away from anybody. So that's what's going on with her passive. Now her ultimate is also being nerfed for the movement speed bonus. As you can see, her ultimate puts targets on the champion that you've selected, and then if you hit all those targets, there's a huge healing aura that drops on the ground, and then also gives her a movement speed buff. So what's getting nerfed, again, no longer grants passive movement speed bonus inside the area. So when you're inside this specific area, look, as you can see, she has this movement speed boost. You no longer get that anymore. So I think that's a pretty huge nerf. It's going to be harder to get these marks. So here's the new champion. He's receiving some slight nerfs, nothing too major. However, his Q, which is his dash ability, very similar to Yasuo's dash spin attack, it is getting nerfed against monsters. So damage to monsters lowered from 70 to 55 just means he can't clear the jungle as quickly. And then his E, which is his wall riding ability, or where he like flies over terrain, he can't go outside of the map as far anymore, so they nerfed that part. So the maximum edge of wall depth lowered from 750 to 550. People were going way outside the map, and now it's just been nerfed to where you can't go as far. And then also the range indicator, which tells enemies how close he is while wall riding, has been increased from 1000 to 1250, so people will notice him a little bit sooner when he's actually outside of the walls, or wall riding, whatever, walking on the terrain. Because sometimes people will go way outside the terrain, and then you can't tell if he's coming to gank or not. So the indicator has been increased from 1000 to 1250. So now we're looking at Rammus. Now Rammus is getting a buff on his defensive ball. The self slow lowered from 60% to 30%. That's when he goes defensive and then walks around. The slow has been decreased because I said when he first came out and was reworked, you can toggle this ability on and off. Anyways, basically the slow, when you toggle it on and walk around, is way too slow, and it just gets Rammus caught into things. So they've lowered it from 60% slow to 30% slow. So I think that'll make him a lot more viable. He is being played. I've been seeing him being played more often. People max his Q first now, so I think people might start maxing his W first, maybe. But again, Q does so much damage and gives you so much speed that I don't think that's going to be max second at all. It probably will get first and then W and then E. But that's what's going on with Rammus. So he is getting a buff on his W. So last but not least, Yorick is receiving some buffs. I love playing this champion, so I'm glad to see he's getting some buffs. So on his passive, his ghouls now immediately attack upon landing E. So if you didn't see, his ghouls were just right there. But his E is his slow right here. So once it lands, the ghouls, let's see if I can show the ghouls. Hurry up. Come on, video. For some reason, this video, here's his ghouls. For some reason, this video doesn't show his passive. I don't know why, but anyways, there's this ghoul. So once you land your E, the ghouls will automatically attack instead of landing and then attacking. So that is a pretty big buff for Yorick's damage on his ghouls. And then his ghouls damage also adjusted from 10 to 90 to 2 to 100, so just a little more damage. The radius that the ghouls react to E increased from 1000 to 1400, which is pretty good. So they react. So like if you hit your E just at the edge of somebody, your ghouls will jump and start attacking right away. So his ultimate, as you can see, it's this Maiden of the Mist. The cooldown has been changed from 160, 150, 140 to 160, 130, 100. At just max level, it's 100 seconds, so it's down 40 seconds, which is quite a bit. And then the Maiden's HP, which we just saw. Okay, come on. Maiden of the Mist, come on. This Maiden's HP changed from 700, 1500, 3000 to 700, 1500, 4,000 at max level, so it's going to be harder to take down his ultimate. And not only that, he can cast it more often because it's on a 100-second cooldown at max rank. So now let's take a look at the new Runes and Mastery system that's coming out in October. So now very quickly we're going to look at the new Runes and Mastery system. If you've already seen this from other YouTubers, it's the same thing. It's on the League of Legends website. So I'm going to briefly touch on this because this video has been a lot longer than I expected it to be. But here's what it looks like. So Runes and Masteries are all intertwined now. They're just one page. And so you pick from 5 different categories. There's Resolve, that's one of them, and Inspiration. There's Sorcery, Domination, and something else that I'm missing, but I will go over the categories in just a minute. But you pick one main category, and then you have a secondary category that you pick from. The main category allows you to get a Keystone and a Greater Rune. The secondary category only allows you to get a Rune and another Rune. So 2 minor runes, I'd say these are. These are minor runes. Here's a Greater Rune, here's a Keystone. So that's what's going on with that. So here's the categories. Here's the icons for the categories. Again, it is work in process, so they might change the names of the categories and they might change what they look like. So the icons displayed right here is Domination, Inspiration, Precision, Sorcery, and Resolve, as we can see. So again, you pick one of those categories to be your main tree line, it looks like. And then the main tree line gives you a Keystone and a Greater Rune. That's the difference between the main and then the secondary. The secondary only gives you these minor runes, but that's what's going on there. So again, for example, you can pick Domination to be your main tree, which gives you a Keystone, and then you can pick Sorcery as your secondary, which is, this is Domination, this is Sorcery. So you know, you can pick this one, get a Keystone, you can pick this one, and then it could be 2 minor runes you can get from it. So that is what's going on there. Here's just some example of the runes that are going to be in these trees. I'm not going to read them because if you've already seen it, there's no big deal. There's no reason for me to repeat what other YouTubers have gone over. But anyways, you can read them. They're on the website. But the biggest thing I think to take away from this is the runes are going to be free. Also, I believe you're going to get all the masteries as well. And there's not really any more masteries. There's just a Keystone you get. And then they're really simplifying the system. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's probably 5 runes that you pick from. So let's see, total. You get 1 Keystone, so there's no more mastery tree and not all these masteries to pick from. There's just 1 Keystone that you pick from. And then you have a Greater Rune. And then you have 4 minor runes. So it's very, very basic, very easy to understand. That's what I would take away from it. And it's going to be free too. So don't spend your hard-earned, you know, influence, influence points and your right points on any runes. I would just save it for the champions right now. And then once this system goes in effect, everything is going to be free. Not the champions, but your runes and masteries are going to be free. I mean, masteries are already free, right? So your runes are going to be free. But that's what's going on with this. That's what I would take away from it right now. But as always, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share. I'm Kobe24. Thank you for watching, and you guys stay awesome, my friends, and I'm out. Peace.